Those are images that are coming in this afternoon from Sri Lanka, from the capital city of Colombo, where you can see that a sea of protesters have descended onto the streets of Colombo and marched straight into the presidential palace. These protesters even clashed with the police, who were trying to control them and in fact stop them from proceeding towards the presidential palace. They used tear gas, they used water cannons, but the protesters were determined to register their anger, their fury over the deteriorating economic situation in the country, calling for the resignation of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. They stormed into the presidential palace, the sea-facing palace in Colombo. They've also stormed into the presidential secretariat, the office of the president as well. They've ransacked the presidential palace, looted belongings as well as the president's whereabouts are currently unknown. It is reported that he in fact fled the presidential palace before the protesters marched and stormed into the building. His whereabouts are not known. Several reports over social media at the moment as to whether a flight has left for Dubai carrying President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, or whether it was the port route which was used, because two naval vessels were seen as well leaving from Sri Lanka as well, possibly in fact carrying some VVIPs of the island nation. The people absolutely angry now, spilling out onto the streets after having organized this protest this Saturday over social media. Calls went out over social media. The police in fact had tried to impose a curfew overnight. It was imposed as well, but because of the resistance of the people, because of the resistance of opposition parties which called for the curfew to be lifted, it was lifted earlier this morning at about 8 a.m. Sri Lanka time, when these protesters then marched towards the city of Colombo and straight into the presidential palace. In fact, trains were halted as well so that not many protesters could gather in Colombo, but these protesters used all routes and means available to them in order to land in Colombo and register their anger. They want Gotabaya Rajapaksa gone. Gota, go back is the cry, the chant, in fact, which was given out by these protesters. They have been feeling absolutely anguished and completely broken down over the situation in Sri Lanka, which the island nation has been now facing for months, together with the fuel crisis, the shortage of essentials like medicines, for instance, as well. Recently, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa had even spoken to Russian President Vladimir Putin, asking for him to extend fuel on credit to Sri Lanka, to which there was no response. But clearly, it appears now the people have had enough. They want a change of regime in Sri Lanka. Earlier, because of their anger, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, who is the brother of Gotabaya Rajapaksa, had to step down, and in May, Prime Minister Wickremesinghe took over the office of Prime Minister. Everyone had hopes that he would have some sort of an action plan in order to pull Sri Lanka out of this economic crisis, but that did not happen, and now the people have run out of patience. Today, of course, the Prime Minister has called for a meeting with all political parties, an emergency meeting with all political parties, but we're already hearing that there are political parties that may be, of course, boycotting that meeting. In fact, it has now been confirmed that opposition and SJP leader Sajith Premadasa has said that he or his party will not attend the party leaders' meeting called by Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe. So already it appears that Ranil Wickremesinghe is being boxed into a corner. There are also calls for his resignation now. The people want a complete change of regime. They want a new Prime Minister, they want a new President, and they do not want anyone from the Gotabaya Rajapaksa family, from the Rajapaksa family, to in fact be in any position of power. This is a family which was celebrated, which was feted by the people of Sri Lanka. Gotabaya Rajapaksa won the election with a massive mandate, but these are the very same people now who want him out.